Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Album Spotlight. This is the show where I put the spotlight on a new album in progressive rock or related genre, one that I think viewers of my channel who like similar things that I like will enjoy. I give a brief description of the album and how I felt about it, and leave it to you guys to go check out if that sounds interesting to you. And I'm going to try to keep this one a little bit shorter. I'm experimenting a little bit with shorter reviews and seeing how that goes before I group a bunch of these reviews into what I called New Music Shuffle, but I felt like it might be interesting to separate them out into their own showcase, because I feel like a lot of the albums I talk about get a little bit lost in the shuffle. Now I'm going to feature an album on its own and talk about, even though it's a bit possibly obscure, I think this is well worth your time. So the album I'm talking about today is called Light Up by Solstice. This is a band that was founded in the UK in 1980, and they're still active as of now, but they've gone through a lot of different lineup changes and hiatuses, but they're back now. They had an album come out in 2020 called Sia that was pretty well received, but this is their follow-up called Light Up. The mind behind this is Andy Glass, the guitarist. He's been pretty much the consistent member throughout all of these years. Basically, they've been around for over 40 years, so they're an established band, but just don't seem to have reached the heights of popularity of some of the other groups that I tend to talk about. But they have a really great classic symphonic prog sound to them. Definitely some inspiration from bands like Camel and Yes, maybe even a folky influence from a band like Mostly Autumn as well. You can hear in here. Really great aesthetic to their sound, really great lineup. They have a very prominent violinist that features on the whole album. Her name is Ginny Newman. They also have a lot of female vocals on the album. Jess Holland is their primary vocalist, and the female vocals are absolutely wonderful on this album and provide a very light, jazzy feel to a really great symphonic prog backing. I really enjoy this album and recommend it. It starts out very positive and uplifting. In fact, it feels like the album has two halves to it. It's a shorter album. It's like 40 minutes long, 44 minutes, and it feels like it's divided into two halves. The first three songs are the more uplifting, fun, brighter tracks. As Andy Glass describes it, maybe this is the sunlit side of their sound that's more positive and vibrant, has that big yes positive energy. Light Up begins with these female vocals and a very bright positive sound, jazzy feel. There's a great breakdown with some acoustic guitar in there, great violin soloing. Wongle number 9 is very funky, has some really cool funky bass and almost a Steely Dan type jazzy aesthetic to it. And Mount Ephraim is some furious folky violin playing with some great intermittent female vocals and settling into a more jazzy styling. So we get this more upbeat feel in the first half of the record, but then starting with Run into the second half, you get a bit more of a laid back, more somber vibe almost. It's very moody. This is the moonlit side of the album according to Andy Glass, and it's very laid back. You can put this on at the peak hours of the night and just like relax and enjoy it. Some ethereal guitar lines, some programmed drum sounds, light sprinkling of violin adding just the right touch to the music, giving it an almost meditative and haunting vibe. I love the vocals. They're very pretty and understated, but just really accentuating the music perfectly, and it just has a great build-up. Towards the end, there's almost a David Gilmour style guitar solo and more of that violin. Home continues this vibe in much the same way with some light drumming, some clean guitar licks, some great violin adding almost an Irish flavor to this track, more great build-ups, more great guitar soloing, and this all culminates in the big epic at the end, Bulbul Terang, which is a 10-minute epic centering on a unique instrument, a Punjabi banjo, that is really prominent here, almost has a sweet like harp-like sound to it. Beautiful vocals once again, violin adding a great layer to it. It has several different sections that this moves through, but there's a chord change near the end that is just heavenly, that leads to this grand epic finale with these great soaring vocals and uplifting sounds. Really has that Yes majestic vibe that you often get in some of their bigger epic pieces. So this is a real delight of an album, one that I heartily recommend. I thought this is just really an amazing album. I feel like a lot of people were talking about this at the end of last year because I believe the physical release came out early for a lot of people who pre-ordered, but the actual wide release just came out recently, just a couple weeks ago. So still, to me, technically a 2023 release, and a beautiful one to start this year off with, one that just really continues to impress and mesmerize me as I continue to listen. So heartily recommend, especially if you're a fan of Yes, fan of maybe some of the folkier elements of prog, and great beautiful female vocals and violin. It's just really marries all these things in a perfect package of progressive rock that I really loved. Let me know in the comments if you've heard this, how you feel about this album, and please go check it out. Support the band if you can on this release. It's really worth your time. And I just hope that you guys enjoyed this episode and this review. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and just keep enjoying the music out there. Bye, everybody.